On this day, 243 years ago, our founding fathers pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to declare independence and defend our God-given rights. We are proudly joined tonight by heroes from each branch of the U.S. Armed Forces, including 3 recipients of the Congressional Medal of Honor. Thank you.
I want to get out. I want to bring our troops back home. I want to start rebuilding our nation. We will have, as of 3 months ago, $7 trillion in the Middle East over the last 17 years. We get nothing out of it, nothing. And as you remember, in civilian life, for years, I said, keep the oil. I was always saying, keep the oil. We didn't keep the oil. Who got the oil? Was ISIS got the oil, a lot of it. That's what funded their campaigns. They took a lot of the oil, and it was largely responsible for funding. We should have kept the oil then. We didn't keep the oil. So I want to get back. I want to rebuild our nation. Think of it, $7 trillion over a 17-year period. We have nothing except death and destruction. It's a horrible thing. So it's time. It's time. We were very successful against ISIS. We'll be successful against anybody militarily. But sometimes it's time to come back home.
And we've secured the oil. Other than that, there's no reason for it, in our opinion. And again, the Kurds are going to be watching. We're working with the Kurds. We have a good relationship with the Kurds. But we never agreed to, protect the Kurds. We fought with them for 3.5 to 4 years. We never agreed to protect the Kurds for the rest of their lives. Remember this. When Iraq was fighting the Kurds, everybody thought we were going to fight with the Kurds. I said, well, it's a little strange that we're fighting with the Kurds when we just spent $4 trillion on Iraq, and now we're going to be fighting Iraq. So what I did is I said, we're not going to take a position. Let them fight themselves. I thought the Kurds would do very well. Everyone said, oh, the Kurds will do very well. Well, Iraq moved in and the Kurds left. They didn't fight because they didn't have us to fight with. A lot of people are good when they fight with us. When you have $10 billion worth of airplanes shooting 10 miles in front of your line, it's much easier to fight. But with that, they were a good help, but we were a great help to them too. They were fighting ISIS. They hated ISIS, so they were fighting ISIS. But we never agreed. Where is an agreement that said we have to stay in the Middle East for the rest of humanity, for the rest of civilization, to protect the Kurds? It never said that.
البنت الشلبية عيونها لمبية حبك من قلبي يا قلبي انت عينيا حبك من قلبي يا قلبي انت عينيا حد القناطر محبوبي ناطر كسر الخواطر يا ولفي ما هان عليا كسر الخواطر يا ولفي ما هان عليا والقلب بتلوح والقلب مجروح وايام عالبال بتعن وتروح وايام عالبال بتعن تحت الرماني حبي حكاني وسمعني غناني يا عيوني وتغزل فيا سمعني غناني يا عيوني وتغزل فيا قلبي يا قلبي انت عينيا وتروح تحت الرماني حبي حكاني سمعني غناني عيوني وتغزل فيا سمعني غناني عيوني وتغزل فيا والقلب مجروح
سمعني غناني يا عيوني وتغزل فيا
سمعني غناني يا عيوني وتغزل فيا
The Turkish operation into northeast Syria can open a new dramatic chapter in the already very dark history of the Syrian war. The potential consequences of such military action are clear to everyone, at least are very clear to us. The repercussions can be extremely serious and far-reaching in humanitarian, military, political and strategic terms. And for all these reasons, we call upon Turkey to immediately stop its unilateral military action.
109 terörist öldürüldü. Ey Avrupa Birliği! Kendinize gelin. Bak yine söylüyorum. Bizim şu andaki operasyonumuzu bir işgal hareketi diye nitelendirmeye çalışırsanız İşimiz kolay. Kapıları açarız. 3,6 milyon mülteciyi sizlere göndeririz. Önce bunu konuşalım.
This evening, the streaks of artillery lit the sky of this border town, the Turkish army hitting Kurdish targets just inside Syria. The strikes began just after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. One of the first targets, Tal Abyad. Until Sunday, it was a Kurdish and US military observation post. Now the Americans have pulled out, allowing the Turks to demonstrate they are now taking control here, despite global calls for them to hold back. Pictures from another Syrian Kurdish town show the impact of the strikes. The Kurds claim there have been civilian casualties. There is no independent confirmation of that yet. Turkish jets have been in the air too. Without leaving Turkish airspace, they can still strike Kurdish targets on the other side. Turkish President Erdogan was briefed on the operation, and these images are designed to boost his popularity, a commander-in-chief and in charge. Ground forces will now follow the artillery over the border. As they headed south, they passed support. this operation is popular here. The people share their president's view that the Kurdish fighters are terrorists.
يلا يا شباب تابع 50
حيدر 50 لوين؟ خلصان؟ خالص 50
نظامي نحن هيك وراك نظاميين
يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله يا شباب لا تتجمعوا لا تتجمعوا يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله
يعني شريط مسبق يا اخي يعني يا اللهم انصر الاسلام والمسلمين امين وعلي رايه الاسلام والمسلمين امين
والفرح ولا الله يا قادة الفتح أمين ونداء كأس المرارات والفرح ولا نداء الله يا قادة الفتح وكل عدو يبتغي مس أرضنا ومن وصف الأصحاب به
كيف ظالم حتى نجي على باول خدور
This is the entrance to the Syrian city of Ras al-Ayn.
This is the municipal building of the city of Ras al-Ayn in northeast Syria, and behind me are the Free Syrian Army, the Syrian National Army, and the Turkish military dropping what is a symbolic flag of the Syrian Revolution and the Turkish flag on the building 1 week after the city has been cleared from YPG terrorists.
المدينة الأولى اللي حرر الجيش العربي السوري في بداية العمليات من حوالي 3 أسابيع بالغوطة، وكانت محصنة بشكل كبير، كانت تعتبر مثل خط متقدم باتجاه الجهة الشرقية في مواجهة القوات المسلحة. استغرق تحرير عدة أيام، ولكن كانت هزيمة الإرهابيين فيها مدوية، يعني كانت هزيمة حقيقية وتحريرنا الشعبي.
دعم الجيش والقوات المسلحة قادة المجموعات المشاركة في تحرير ريفي حماة الشمال الشرقي والشمالي وريف إدلب الجنوبي جاهزين لتلقي توجيهاتكم.
Syria will go about 32 kilometers deep into Syria from the Turkish border. Even though the deal requires the YPG terror group to vacate large swathes along the border, there are more challenges.
In some parts of our operation region, there are regime forces under the protection of Russia. We will discuss this issue with the Russian president in Sochi on Tuesday and try and find a solution.
And Moscow has some reservations about Turkey's military operation.
President Putin, in his recent phone conversation, has expressed concern of possible humanitarian consequences of this operation. Of course, it will be a very important topic at the talks on Tuesday between President Putin and President Erdogan.
But Ankara says it disagrees with Moscow's assessment.
Turkish officials say their military operation has been planned with the humanitarian consequences taking center stage. They say Ankara's previous operations show just how careful the Turkish military has been in targeting only the combatants.
Turkish officials say in addition to Operation Peace Spring, the two leaders will also discuss Idlib province and the city of Manbij. They're also expected to talk about the formation of a constitutional committee that would pave the way for elections in Syria. Hassan Abdullah, TRT World, Sochi, Russia.
All American soldiers are away from the site. Syria and Turkey may fight. Syria is friendly with the Kurds. The Kurds are very well protected, plus they know how to fight. And by the way, they're no angels, but they were with us. They are no angels. So Syria is either negotiating with or talking to Turkey. We're also talking to Turkey. We put massive sanctions on Turkey. Sanctions work, frankly, better than fighting. We're not going to be fighting. We don't want to fight anyway. I don't think there's any reason to, from the United States standpoint. Now, as to Syria wanting to take back their land, that's a whole different story. If Syria wants to fight for their land, that's up to Turkey and Syria, as it has been for hundreds of years. They've been fighting, and the Kurds have been fighting for hundreds of years. That whole mess, it's been going along for a long time. Syria may have some help with Russia, and that's fine. It's a lot of sand. They've got a lot of sand over there, so there's a lot of sand that they can play with. But
is everybody happy? Cried the sergeant, looking up. Our hero feebly answered yes, and then they stood him up. He jumped into the icy blast, his static line and hook, and he ain't gonna jump no more. Gory, gory, what a hell of a way to die. Gory, gory, what a hell of a way to die. Gory, gory, what